What's your random celebrity encounter? Even one nobody will believe? I sat in a bar here in Perth and chatted with Heath Ledger while being totally unaware of who he was. I think he found it refreshing to chat as a normal person without being recognized as an actor. Saw Wayne Gretzky at the Ritz-Carlton in New York. I didn't recognize him at the time because he was just sitting reading a newspaper and I wasn't exactly looking out for him. I walked out and my dad said, "Did you see Wayne Gretzky?" My moan was very salty that we walked right past him but didn't recognize him. Had lunch with Kevin Spacey at a Burger King. He was already very famous at the time but nobody at BK was old enough to know who he was, I guess. I know everyone hates him now, but he's still my favorite actor, even if his outside life is less than moral. I was in Houston for an event that I was supposed to perform at, and I was smoking a cigarette outside of the venue and talking to my friend who came with me, and out of nowhere, to some guy passing by, he goes, "Hey, I fear the beard," all excitedly. The guy smiles and waves, and I ask what all that was about. Turns out it was James Harden. I'm not a huge sports fan, if that wasn't already apparent. I was riding Soarin' in Disneyland and was confused when everyone around me kept looking away from the screen. Turns out Jack Black was in the same ride vehicle as me. Justin Bieber was in the line with him at a little cafe in Melbourne, Australia. He just said, "Hey man, I love your tattoos." Mind you, I'm not really a Bieber fan, don't listen to him, don't really know much about him other than the crap he gets. But we chatted for a few minutes in the line about NHL and some Hillsong thing he was going to. He offered to shout me a Caesar salad but I kindly declined. He shook my hand and told me to have a great day. Weirdest experience of my life. Shook hands with Princess Charles in the rain and I apologized about the weather for some reason. He had really good skin and I wondered what kind of moisturizer he must use. Met Seth Rogen at a sushi shop in Vancouver. Sat down next to him. Turned my head and he's just like, "Hey," and it took me about 3 seconds and I was, holy shit, that's Seth Rogen. I was in a taxi rushing down Broadway and my driver thought he could run the light. Car almost hits Chris Rock on 86th and Broadway. He flipped us off. Another time I got into an elevator at NYU and Cole Sprouse was inside just texting. I didn't say or anything because I didn't want to be that annoying fan, but I was nervous to say the least. Ran into Dwayne Johnson at my orthopedic surgeon's office when I was a teenager. He was in town with WWE and did something to his leg during practice. It was the end of the business day, and I was the only other patient in the waiting room. Exactly 4 people in that office knew who he really was: me, my mother, the doctor, and her nurse. The front desk lady had no idea and kept asking him to respell his alias name, which wasn't Dwayne Johnson, but was some complicated, unique name that he kept giving in a really low voice, trying desperately not to draw attention to himself, and asked him who he worked for and if this was a workers' compensation injury. Poor guy was in so much pain, he just hung his head, sat down, and waited until the nurse came out and said, "Oh, you're here," and rushed him back. I decided not to bother him. If you Google Jay Cutler walking dog, I'm the guy in the brown shirt behind him. Probably his most famous picture. Was walking to class in Chicago and he was real mad at the paparazzi guy trying to get pics of pregnant Kristen. I once brought 10 pizzas to Heather Locklear on a golf course. I bumped into Cara Delevingne in Europe once, a little before Suicide Squad was a thing. When I say bumped into, I mean we both walked around a corner at the same time and did the who's going which way little dance and then kept walking. I met Billy Baldwin outside a rice paddock in Royal Bali, Indonesia. Asked him how Serena was going nowadays and he laughed. That's all it was. I checked Bernie Mac into the hotel I was working at. I didn't know it was him. His reservation was under Bernard McCulloch. As he walked away from the desk, my coworker told me who it was. Being a fan of the Yogscast at the time, I met and had a conversation with Sips at BlizzCon in Anaheim. My brother didn't believe me till I sent him a picture that I took with him. 'Twas a great trip. I was staying at a hotel to go to the AP Music Awards when I was around 17. It was sort of like the emo version of the Grammys, I guess. I happened to be staying in the same hotel as some of the artists, and the host, CM Punk. As I was walking through the lobby, I saw some members of Paramore and New Found Glory playing cards together. I just waved because I didn't want to be a bother. But CM Punk was also there and he gave me the dirtiest fucking look and shook his head. Saw a blacked out car with cop bikes pull into the airport as we drove out of a McDonald's one day. We then watched their helicopter take off. Turned out to be William and Kate. Ringo Starr at a gas station late night in Burbank, CA. I'm Frank, Sergeant Carter from Gomerpile, Sutton's great-nephew. I used to hang out with Jim Varney, Ernest P. Worrell, and once got into a bar fight with Randall Tex Cobb. UK kids TV stars, mostly. Bodger, from Bodger and Badger used to drink in my pub. Double Jack and Coke. I've also checked Neil Morrissey's Bob the Builder train ticket. It was valid. I walked into Gabriel Byrne in London once. I was texting and not looking where I was going. He was a total gent about it. A couple of years later I saw Tracy Ullman in a hotel lobby in Milan. Only realized after I walked out it was her.